Hello, I'm James Nottingham, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Carol Dweck's growth mindset and what's going on with the meta-analyses just now, the research about the effect of mindset. Carol Dweck is Professor of Psychology at Stanford University, and for more than 30 years, her and her colleagues have been doing very precise, investigative research to find out what is the impact about how people learn. And they found that we all have a mindset. Whether you've heard of mindset or not, we all have a mindset. We all have ideas about where talents and abilities have come from. If I see somebody who is supremely talented, I might look at them and think, wow, that is amazing. They must be naturally good at that. They must have been born to do that. I wish I was good like that. Whereas we might view the same person in a very different way. We might think that person must have sacrificed a lot, must have put a lot of effort in, must have done a lot of training, a lot of development to get to that point. And this makes a significant difference to how we respond to learning, how we respond to challenges. In the early days, Carol Dweck and her colleagues called this the difference between entity theory and incremental theory. Entity theory, either I have it or I don't. Incremental theory, I've built it, developed it over time, or I haven't. More recently, Carol Dweck has called that fixed and growth mindset. And of course, these terms now are very, very well known. Her best-selling book, Mindset, explores it in depth. And her TED presentation, filmed in Norrköping in 2014, that I was privileged enough to introduce. The fact that they've cut that introduction out doesn't keep me awake at night, bearing in mind 7.5 million people already have watched that video. The thing is, mindset can make a difference. That's why so many people invest in it. That's why so many people investigate it. But recently, Jenny Burnett and her colleagues examined 85 studies looking into the effect of mindset. And they found that the typical effect on student learning of mindset was an effect size of 0.19. Now let's put that in a context for a moment. John Hattie has been examining meta-analyses for many, many years. So far, he's compared 1,500 meta-analyses that together involve 80,000 studies. And what John Hattie has found is that across all of those meta-analyses, the typical effect is 0.4. So if you compare growth mindset 0.19 with the typical effect 0.4, mindset doesn't come out very favourably. But then let's look a bit deeper. Mindset isn't the only thing to have a low effect. There are the summer vacation, the summer holiday, minus 0.02. In other words, it doesn't help kids learning. Certainly not in mathematics, in science, in languages. But let's hope it does help them in terms of freedom, in terms of adventure, in terms of family time. So I'm not sure we're going to be rushing to get rid of the summer holidays, even though it has a low effect. Another one, giving students control over their learning, 0.02. In other words, when we give students choice, they learn less. Now, is anybody going to stop giving kids choice, or are we going to examine this and think, why does it have this low effect, and what can I do about it? Some other factors. Teacher subject knowledge. That's a really low effect, and this upsets a lot of teachers. Surely I can be a better teacher if I know my subject. Well, that's true, but if it doesn't go hand in hand with pedagogy, with that ability to teach, ability to put that deep knowledge across to students, then maybe it doesn't make as much of a difference. But I don't hear anybody saying, therefore, let's not train, let's not develop our subject knowledge. What I hear people saying is, why does it make such a small difference to student learning, and what can we do about it? Similarly, teacher training. That's a low effect as well. I don't hear anybody saying, let's not train teachers. And then the one that really did make people take note of John Hattie's research, class size, 0.21. When we reduce the number of students in a class, typical effect 0.21. Now let's be clear, these are all positive. These all are more than zero. And because they're more than zero, they all have a positive effect on learning. The thing is, the average is 0.4. So why does growth mindset not have the effect that we expected? This is something that I've explored in a new book that I've written together with my good friend and colleague Bosse Larsen. It's going to be published very soon in July 2018 by Corwin in the US, by DeFolo in Denmark, by Naturkultur in Sweden. And what we've done is we've started with Jenny Burnett's meta-analyses, we've examined it and we've said, why is mindset not having the effect that we expected yet? And what I'm going to do now is give some ideas about why it doesn't have that effect that we expected. One of the factors is that mindset is often put into a school, put into an organisation in a very surface level way. It doesn't go very deeply. For example, we put posters on the wall talking about or showing the difference between fixed and growth mindset. And that might be helpful as a starting point. But if that's the main approach, if there's not very much to go with it, then of course it's not going to make a big difference. Very often we hear a misinterpretation, or rather oversimplification of mindset. A lot of teachers, a lot of parents, a lot of managers will implore people to try harder. Come on, you need to try harder. Well, that's great if they're using the right strategy. But there's no point trying harder if they're using the wrong strategy. It's just almost pointless. So with that idea of try harder ought to be, and what strategies are you using? Could you use a better strategy? In other words, some metacognition with it will make a bigger difference. Try harder, metacognition, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Could we do it a better way? Another aspect of this surface and deep is too many schools that we work with, we go in and we do learning walks. At the beginning, we find many students will say, oh, mindset. If we do very well, the teachers say, we must have been in a growth mindset. Whereas if we do badly, they say we must have been in a fixed mindset. And the kids are saying it's nothing about their teaching, is it? It's never about how boring the subject is. It's always about our mindset. And therein lies a problem. There's this sense that mindset will fix everything. Of course it won't. It can help. But to think that it will fix everything is just far too simplistic. Another aspect of mindset is it only really makes a difference when you are challenged, when you are on that challenging path, when it is a struggle for you. If things are easy, if what you find is you're on the easy path, where it's familiar, where you know how to do things, where you can get that report done without any worry, you can play that instrument, you can complete that essay, you can finish that test without very much effort, without very much thinking, then you know what? It doesn't really matter what mindset you're in. It's only when we're struggling, it's only when we've got obstacles in our way, when it is difficult for us, that's when mindset matters. If I'm in a growth mindset, I'm much more likely to endure, to persist, to keep going, to look for alternatives, to learn from my mistakes. So mindset does matter, but only really when we are challenged. And my question to you, those of us in schools, how many times, how often are our students spending a significant proportion of their day doing things they can already do, doing things that are straightforward, doing things that are easy? And you know what? If that is their life in school, mindset We shouldn't expect it to make a difference because they don't need to be in a growth mindset for that. And there's a connected aspect. What Jenny Burnett identified as the difference between performance and learning focus. In a performance-focused environment, mindset doesn't help very much. In a learning-focused environment, it does. It can make a significant difference. Now we can use these paths to give an idea of the difference between these. Performance focus is when you choose to do the things you can do to get the job done. You go for the subjects that you know you're good at. You go for the essays or the questions or the activities you know you can do because you want to get the job done and be praised for it. You want to get the good grades. You want to show off or show what you can do. Whereas in a learning focused environment, you think, what am I going to learn most from? What are the things that are going to take me out of my comfort zone? What are the things that are going to help me to explore more? What are the things that are going to test me and challenge me? Because if that is the environment you find yourself in, then mindset could make a significant difference to your learning. And again, I would ask those of us in teaching, how many of us find our school, our college, much more performance focused than we would wish. And that might be because of league tables, it might be because of grade pressure, it might be because of all sorts of factors. But if we do find ourselves in that performance focused environment, mindset isn't really going to help. Now it could, over a long period of time, help us to move much more towards this learning focus, but that's a whole other thing. And that's something I'm going to be exploring when I give a keynote at the annual Visible Learning Conference in Chicago next week. It is something that we explore much more in our book, and it's something that we continue to develop and explore in our long-term projects and keynotes and online. So I look forward to engaging with you all. Thank you.